History books, full of all the greatest hits, world wars, black plagues, the Titanic, those disasters that shaped nations and sent ripples through time. But what about the smaller scale catastrophes? The ones that flew under the radar, yet still left a mark. Welcome back to Turn Back Time. Today we're diving into the lesser known disasters that you probably haven't heard about, but have changed the world. Spoiler, no shipwrecks today, but we will talk about how a giant wave of molasses took out a city. Yes, that's real. Sit tight, because things are about to get sticky. Let's kick things off with the Great Molasses Flood of 1919. You're in Boston's North End. It's a pretty typical winter day when suddenly, bam, a 2.3 million gallon tank of molasses collapses. A 25-foot wave of sticky brown syrup comes rushing down the street, picking up debris, smashing buildings, and unfortunately people. Now you might be thinking, molasses? How fast could that move? Turns out pretty damn fast, about 35 miles per hour. By the time it was over, 21 people were dead, 150 injured, and an entire city block was submerged in sweet, sticky chaos. They say time moves slower in Boston. Guess it wasn't just the Red Sox fault. The disaster led to the creation of new safety regulations for industrial construction. So the next time you're in a safe, non-sticky building, thank the molasses flood. Now, let's move to China in 1975. Ever heard of the Banqiao Dam Failure? No? That's probably because the Chinese government wasn't too keen on publicizing one of the deadliest disasters in human history. Part of Mao's grand plan to tame China's rivers failed after days of relentless rain. The result? A flood that killed almost 200,000 people. Yes, 200,000. A massive human toll, and the aftermath included famine, disease, and long-lasting environmental damage. Unfortunately, the true scale of this disaster remained hidden for decades. It wasn't just water that was dammed, it was also the truth. Next stop, Siberia, 1908. It's a peaceful morning in the Tunguska region. A mysterious explosion flattens 800 square miles of forest. To this day, we're not 100% sure what happened. The leading theory? A meteor exploded mid-air before hitting Earth. No impact crater, no alien spaceship, just a gigantic mystery. Here's the thing though, it was so remote that no one actually saw it happen. But we know something huge went down, because when scientists arrived almost 20 years later, they found trees blown down like matchsticks in every direction. The event remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, and a reminder that Earth might not be as safe from space rocks as we'd like to think. You've probably heard of Chernobyl, but did you know there was another major Soviet nuclear disaster? Enter the Kyshtym Disaster of 1957. A nuclear waste tank overheated and exploded, spreading radioactive material over thousands of square kilometers. The worst part? The Soviet Union didn't tell anyone about it for years. People were living their lives, raising families, all while slowly being exposed to radiation. It wasn't until the 1970s that the world learned what had happened. By then, it was too late for many of those affected. Soviet rule number 1, if something explodes and it's radioactive, just pretend it didn't happen. Problem solved. Even though it's been overshadowed by Chernobyl, the Kyshtym disaster shows how secrecy and mismanagement can turn a bad situation into an even worse one. Okay, we've covered explosions, floods, and radiation. How about a disaster that affected the entire planet? Welcome to 1816, also known as the Year Without a Summer. A volcanic eruption in Indonesia, the Mount Tambora eruption, threw so much ash into the atmosphere that global temperatures dropped by several degrees. Crops failed, livestock died, and famine spread across the world. The sun itself seemed dimmer. People thought it was the end of the world. Well, except for Mary Shelley. She was stuck indoors and ended up writing Frankenstein, so I guess that's a silver lining. Volcanoes, ruining vacations and giving us monster fiction since 1816. It was a brutal year for most of the world, but the Year Without a Summer shows how even natural disasters on the other side of the planet can have a ripple effect across continents. And there you have it. some of the most forgotten disasters that, whether you realize it or not, changed the course of history. The next time someone talks about Chernobyl, Pompeii, or the Titanic, you can hit them with some molasses flood knowledge. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what other forgotten catastrophes do you want to hear about. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious.